two dicks. Wow.
Yeah! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 1IQ Football Talk podcast.
And having to go, yeah, but he did kind of do this.
What I'm hearing is you just want Tom Brady dead. Like that's all I'm hearing at this point. You just want Brady
Well,
dead.
not anymore. He's retired now, so I'm good with that. I don't want him calling games anymore because holy hell, he's hard to listen to.
Enough angry and, depressing from myself. Sterling, thank you for being able to sit there as my therapist for this episode.
Start the game already!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 1IQ Football Talk podcast, as we are officially on the tick down for week number 1 of the NFL season. We are so close. College football is here, and it is great to watch that, as we all know that both of us are college football fans. And currently, Ohio State beating Texas at the moment. But first off, Sterling, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. Football's back. I mean, we got less than a week now, and we have football that we can watch. I'll be at work for those kickoff games, but I fully intend to have them on my phone in the background while I'm doing that. I'm ready for some football. We did our fantasy draft last weekend too, which was entertaining as fuck.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, it's good, buddy. Football
is here. We're ready to go. Obviously, some big news that came out this week. One that really hurts me and pains me and is frankly going to be the center point of a lot of this conversation this week. And that's the Green Bay Packers trading 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for Micah Parsons. And they also give him the richest non-quarterback contract out of any player in NFL history, $188 million over the course of 4 years, where he's making $46 million annually.
Yep, I mean, big contract for Micah Parsons, big trade for the Packers, and more slipping into dementia and senility for Jerry Jones. I work with a Cowboys fan, and I was laying into him because, like, man, Jerry Jones had to sign 3 guys, and he chose to trade away the best of those 3, in my opinion. I know some people will say CeeDee Lamb's the better player. I think Micah Parsons is the better of those 3. But, like,
hands down.
Yeah, like, no question in my mind about that. And so he signed the other 2 and then trades away Micah Parsons, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I know I didn't want to see him go to, like, an AFC North team, but, like, throughout the rest of the league, the only other 2 teams I didn't want to see him land with were the Eagles and the Packers. And, of course, he ends up going to the fucking Packers.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about the big 3 that Jerry Jones needed to sign, that being Dak Prescott. Again, I think both of us are more than comfortable saying that Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback in this league. When he's healthy, he's a top 10 guy. He's proven that enough to the point where you can say that he is that guy. CeeDee Lamb is a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in this league. I think there are some people that would say that he's closer to being top 3. There's some people that say he's just on the outside of that top 5, depending on who you ask and which receivers you're talking about. Micah Parsons is not just a generational talent from what he is as a defender. I describe him as a lifetime talent, meaning like this is a guy that you see once in every 30, 40 years type situation. Like, when I refer to a prospect as a generational talent, I go, this is a guy that you see once in every 10 years. Like that's a generation in the NFL. Micah Parsons, you're not seeing guys like him come along and do what he does. Like, again, we've talked just even this last draft process of like, oh, this guy is a linebacker edge rusher hybrid, and you're starting to see a little bit more of that. But when talking about these guys, you're going like, oh, they're Micah Parsons-esque. But they're not Micah Parsons. Like, this dude, while he hasn't won a Defensive Player of the Year award, and he's not leading the league in sacks every single year, and he's not leading the league in pressures every single year, it's what he does on the field that is just so dangerous. And he has been banged up, but he also holds a record in the first 4 years of his career, having 12 plus sacks in every single one of them. And
And
it's
yeah,
crazy.
it's that versatility really. And you know, you say he doesn't lead the league in sacks, he doesn't lead the league in pressures, doesn't lead in anything, because he does a little bit more of everything. You know, like, we've got edge rushing guys like TJ Watt, Miles Garrett, Max Crosby. Their specialty really is get after the quarterback. Micah Parsons has that ability to compete at that level with those guys, but he also is able to drop back into coverage and play zone or man coverage against some of the best tight ends in the league, and he can keep up with a few of the wide receivers even. And so it makes him a very unique talent in that way. The only part of his game that I see struggles a little bit is that run stopping. You know, and that's fair. You can't really expect any guy to do all of it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not to say he's a slouch at run stopping. He's able to do it. It's just probably the lowest skill set that he has is the run stopping ability. But
Yeah.
like you said, we see a guy like Micah Parsons come along once every 30, 40 years. Like, the last guy really that was that kind of a defensive player that altered the league was probably LT, Lawrence
Yeah.
Taylor.
And that's kind of what I'm looking at, is like, when we talk about generational defining defensive players, like, I think we will talk about JJ Watt being one of those guys where you just look at and go, like, this guy during his prime years was
Hmm.
so terrifying, to the point where like he just walked through people. Like, the JJ Watt when he was in his prime was unstoppable. Aaron Donald is one of those guys from the interior defensive line where we're going to talk about being like, that was the standard for it. And I will still say, my entire life I've never seen a defender as good as Aaron Donald, and I don't think I will ever see a defender as good as Aaron Donald. But like, Micah Parsons is on that level of a player. Like, I know when we talk about TJ Watt is a guy that I truly believe will be a Hall of Famer. Will he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? I don't know. But he will be a Hall of Famer. And he's going to be one of those guys that's looked at as going like, this guy was great in this generation. But his prime was nowhere near the prime of his brother. His prime was nowhere near the prime of Aaron Donald. But you just continue to go back. We'll go, well, Micah Parsons is just an edge rusher. But people forget, you can have him play left edge rusher, right edge rusher, interior defensive line. You can have him playing Mike linebacker, Will linebacker, and Sam linebacker. All of those positions are enough that he could be an all pro at every single one of those at any given year. And that's why we're talking about this dude being so special, that the Cowboys these last few years limited him to just being an edge rusher. And now the Packers will probably also just limit him to being just an edge rusher, but the fact that he can do all that extra stuff is what takes him to that next level.
It is, and I mean, I don't think we've seen the best out of Micah Parsons either, because he's been held back by a dysfunctional Dallas organization. You know, there's always drama, there's always, you know, negative media, and it's distracting for the players, you know, and especially for Micah Parsons. It's been, what, 3 years he's been trying to get an extension done with them, where they could have got him for dirt cheap compared to what the price for that the Packers have paid him now.
Yeah.
You know, and they just kept kicking dirt and not wanting to do it. And I think going to, and as much as it pains us both, a respectable organization that isn't quite as dramatic and negative in the media like the Green Bay Packers. Like, I know it's negative in your media because it's the Bears and it's fuck the Packers, but it is. It's an organization that tends to be a little bit more upstanding than, say, the Dallas Cowboys. And so I think we might see Micah Parsons. I know it's painful. I hate it too, but we'll see Micah Parsons, I think, flourish a little bit more in Green Bay than he did in Dallas. And you mentioned you can have him be an all-pro at any of the front 7 positions. And I would argue he might not be an all-pro, but you could line him up at a strong safety position even, and he would still be competitive.
Yeah.
That's how insane it is looking at a guy like Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and I will always sit back and say, like, people that have watched this before obviously know that there is no organization in the history of sports I will give less respect to than the Green Bay Packers. And that's solely out of pettiness and just being beat down by this organization for basically just being able to be gifted a Hall of Fame quarterback, to then being gifted another Hall of Fame quarterback, to then be gifted someone who's not bad at quarterback in Jordan Love. Like it's really, really annoying. And then watching my team and organization continue to fumble the bag with all of that stuff. But the one sentiment that I just kept walking by every single time that I saw this was, there's nothing negative I can say about the Packers in this deal, because what am I supposed to say? Like, oh, they overpaid for this guy, they sent too much. And I'm going back, like, if I'm the Packers and when I'm on the phone with senile old dumbass Jerry Jones and going, okay, like, this is probably going to be our opening deal to the Cowboys, and going like, we're going to have to kind of build off of that, but let's just see if this is good enough to even get us like a building block. Because again, no team starts out as like, oh, we're going to send this trade and hope it gets accepted. But the Packers went in, were like, we're going to give you 2 first-round picks and give you Kenny Clark. And I guarantee they were sitting back going like, this is just going to be a building block. And then Jerry Jones was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And the Packers like, really? Like, you're accepting this? Like, I need you to put that on paper, say it into a microphone, say it to the NFL office right now. And it's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, like immediately they're calling league office going, we need to get this done. Get this done before somebody else calls and offers 2 firsts. Because that's what's insane to me with Micah Parsons is I think every team that had $46 million available under their cap would have sent 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons. Every single one.
Even if you were a team that didn't have $46 million.
I feel like the Steelers might have looked at that and been like, maybe we should send TJ Watt in 2 firsts for Micah Parsons. Because I would have accepted that. Well, I love TJ Watt.
No. Like, you probably wouldn't even need to send TJ Watt. You could have sent Alex Highsmith.
Yeah.
With those 2 first-round picks.
Well, it would have had to be TJ Watt to make the cap space available.
That doesn't matter. You guys would have found a way.
Yeah, that's just the only reason that I say it probably would have had to be, just because you look at the cap space situation, it would have had to be. So, I mean, maybe you get away with only 1 first at that point. But either way, like, even your Bears, I think you guys would have been like, well, we'll send DJ Moore in a first or something. Like, anything. Like, every team should have been vying for Micah Parsons. The fact that the Packers are the ones that got him for 2 firsts and Kenny Clark is infuriating.
Yeah, and then not only that, but the contract. When I sat back and thought about the contract that Micah Parsons was going to get, I thought it was going to start with a 2 followed by 2 zeros after that. And the fact that he signed for 188, that's $12 million less than what I thought he would sign for. Now, granted, I thought it was going to be like a 5-year deal, which was going to be the kind of reason as opposed to a 4-year.
Yeah.
But still, the point being that the Packers got him for less money than I expected him to sign for. Because again, Micah Parsons is 26 years old. At the end of this deal, he's going to be 30. And as we all know, you can be a talented edge rusher at the age of 30. And so we're going to see in 3 years from now, the Packers looking at this guy and going, he could potentially have won a Defensive Player of the Year award at that point. He could have this team just motoring and firing on all cylinders and bing, bang, boom. And he could be looking at an even richer contract going to be at the age of 30. Like, that's what's annoying to me about this, is that like, you just look at this deal for the Packers, there is not a single thing that even a hardcore Packers hater like I am can say that's negative about this. And that's what pisses me off even more about it.
I know, right? It is just awful, and I think that's why it wasn't a 5 or 6 year deal, because then he's 31, 32. It's a little tougher to get paid again as an edge rusher at that age. I was a little surprised it wasn't even like just a little bit shorter and only do the 3 year. That way he could hit the market again at 29, and then he would really get paid big. So, I mean, it really depends how these years go. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, depending on how it goes in that final year, if we see the Packers trade him somewhere else just to get some return back as a result, if they don't plan to sign him for the remainder of his career.
Yeah, and the big thing that I have seen a lot of Bears fans talk about in this, because Bears fans right now are in this realm of just utter pain, and
Yeah.
I'm involved in that as well. As there's been Bears fans that have been going out there going like, oh well, we have Durham Smythe who is going to be just able to chip Micah Parsons on every single play, and there's been other Bears fans that have rightfully stated it's like, you guys do remember when they said Mercedes Lewis was going to be that, when Packers fans were talking about Bears getting Khalil Mack, and like it didn't really work that much. So
Yeah.
there, like, we need to pump the brakes on the, oh well, Micah Parsons isn't going to do anything. Like, he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL right now. Like, let's not sugarcoat,
Mhm.
let's not try to sugarcoat a turd here. Like, he's one of the best defensive players, not only in the NFL but of our lifetime here at the moment as football fans. It's going to
Well,
be a
yeah,
problem.
it creates a fundamental change for all three of the NFC North teams twice a year each.
Hmm.
Because now every time they play the Packers, they got to look at this and go, okay, we need to change our offensive philosophy. We're going to have to double team Micah Parsons, which means that shrinks our playbook, because we're going to have to either use two linemen on him, or we're going to have to take one of our tight ends and put him there. And even then, if we're doing that, we might also have to include our running back to be an extra blocker.
Yeah.
And so it shrinks all those teams' playbooks significantly when they play the Packers now, which is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I remember texting with you yesterday where you were continuing to mess with me, because that's what good friends do. When they see their friend in pain, they will continue to just pile on and basically just hand them the loaded shotgun and be like, hey, buddy. But and one of the things that you said is, I'm sad because my Steelers have to play the Packers this year, and I really don't want to face them. And I think my very, very quick reply was, try twice a year for the next generation. And it was,
Yeah,
fair enough.
yeah. No, I'm good.
Yep,
All yours.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but this is one of those things where there might be people saying for the next thing that I say is a little bit of copium, but that very well might be true. I came into this season saying that I think the Packers were going to be at the bottom of the NFC North. Not because I think they're a bad team. I think they have a very functional offense. I like Matthew Golden. He was my number one receiver in this year's class, so I was annoyed that they ended up getting Jordan Love, someone who I think is a really talented player. Now, granted, I don't think this receiver class was as good as receiver classes that we've seen in years past. I think you put Matthew Golden in last year's class, he's the fifth wide receiver in that class. But nonetheless, you're getting Jordan Love some weapons, but I often sat back and said that defense is horrible. Sure, you have a couple of good defensive linemen in Kenny Clark at the time. You also had, Lucas Van Ness, and then you had I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but he's a fairly decent edge rusher in his own right. But I looked at the linebacking core and went, nobody in that linebacking core scares me. I look at the secondary and I go, can anyone name me a starter in that secondary that's not named Xavier Worthy or not Xavier
Xavier
Worthy?
McKinney?
Yeah, Xavier McKinney. Thank you. But I'm like, can anyone name a starting corner? at this point. It's like
Right?
that Bueller meme. No one can do that. And I sit back and I go, the addition of Micah Parsons is going to vastly improve this defense. I don't think it's going to vastly improve this defense enough this year to make a significant a difference to say that the Packers are going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, well, and I mean, they're going to have to continue improving upon this defense in the subsequent free agencies and drafts that come up. Unfortunately, it's going to be hard to do not having their first round picks for the next two drafts. So
And
that
also
that
having
does
that
definitely handcuff them a
massive,
little bit.
massive contract as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be harder to build that defense, but as someone like myself can attest to, if you have a really, really good edge rusher, you can start to build out a team with second round picks, third round picks. You can start to take some opportunities on some flyers. Like, just look at the Eagles last year. They took a free agent in Zach Baum, who
Mm-hmm.
no one had talked about and no one had even considered being much more than just a TJ Edward replacement that might be okay at his job, to thinking that he was going to be top 5 candidate for defensive player of the year. Like,
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. And now the Packers having a guy like Micah Parsons there, that is going to be a little bit more enticing for free agents.
without a
Because
doubt.
in the past, with the way that defense has been built, any free agent looking at that is going, so I have to go there and do it all. Whereas now they're going to look at it and go, oh, okay, they've got an offense and I can go play with Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do it.
it's very, very enticing. The other part of me that is absolutely loving this here at the moment is Matt Eberflus, former Chicago Bears head coach, who I very much despise. He doesn't get to use Micah Parsons, so I get to
Hmm.
watch that Dallas defense be absolutely terrible while Matt Eberflus is the defensive coordinator and continuing to laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, and
We're back. So yeah, again, it doesn't feel like we should feel sorry for Cowboys fans in this one, just because, yeah, like Jerry Jones is probably the stupidest owner in professional sports right now. Sure, he turned this organization from what was $100 million organization to the most valuable sports franchise in the world. But when your owner's going, we're more worried about being a soap opera than actually being a competitive football team, it's just like, yeah. And when you have to listen to the Cowboys fans talk, you're like, you kind of deserve this. But
yeah.
yeah, obviously a very, very big, big week in the world of sports for that. Very, very, very annoying. One of the things that we did ultimately have discussed this week was us choosing who was going to be our division winners coming into this particular week. And so, yeah, like what we did with our team predictions, we are going to do for just all the or all the division winners, and just kind of go like who we think is going to be 1, who's going to be 2, 3, and 4 for all of
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah, we're not necessarily going to do like full record predictions for these teams. It's more just what is the final standings in each division going to be 1 through 4.
yes, yes. So starting out here, I think with the AFC West. This is a division that we both have a little bit differently. Starting from the bottom, because I think it's easier to start from 4 and making our way up. We actually both completely agree with this one. We both think it is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders who are going to be in that 4th spot.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we both agree that this team will be much improved, better coaching there. You've got an actual quarterback. Like, yeah, I know Geno Smith's not a top 10 or even a top 15, but he's not Aiden O'Connell. And
Yes.
so that is a significant improvement. It's just the other teams in this division have also improved.
Yeah, and this is where we have our first difference,
Yeah.
and we genuinely both have pretty much everything different from here on out. Myself personally, I have the Broncos at my third spot. And that's no slouch against this Broncos team because I think this is going to be a good team. I think the Broncos potentially could have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL this year. I'm really interested to see how not Zach Wilson, Bo Nix is going to operate
Mhm.
in year number 2 and how some of those offensive pieces are going to work. I just don't think they're as good as these next two teams.
Yeah, for myself, I have the Chargers landing at third in this division, and it is purely based on that Rashawn Slater injury. I had the Chargers possibly competing for the division here before that injury happened, and I just look at it and I go, they've gone from having their two all-pro tackles to protect Justin Herbert back to only having one, which we've seen there's struggles on that team. Yes, they've got better coaching now. I think this is going to hamper that team just enough that they can't quite compete for that division now and will end up slipping all the way to third.
Yeah, for me, my second place team in this division is the Kansas City Chiefs, which ultimately means I have the Chargers at that number 1 spot. And like again, you have the Chargers at number 3. I am a big believer in Jim Harbaugh. This is a dude that everywhere he goes, he gets that team competing at the highest of levels. And I think Justin Herbert in year number 2 going to have an even better running game this year. Now, granted, he isn't going to have Rashawn Slater out there, but they still have Joe Alt.
Mhm.
And while the offensive line did take a massive hit, I don't think it's going to be enough of a hit to really ultimately just move them backwards. And when it comes with the Chiefs, it's one of those things where the Chiefs are still going to be a good team, but the problem is the amount of one score games they won last year. When you see a team win a bunch of those one score games like you did, oftentimes the next year, even if they still are a good team, you'll start to see some of those one score games go in the opposite direction just because it's so hard to stay on that level year in, year out. And so I think instead of being a 15 win team, I think you're going to see the Chiefs be an 11 or 12 win team where they're going to have still some of those miracle games like how the hell did they pull that out, but ultimately not to that same level as last year.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Myself, I have the Broncos finishing in second. It's second year with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. They're going to be more comfortable with each other. They went out and they got Bo Nix some more weapons. That defense got better. Honestly, I just think we're going to see the Broncos continue to climb at this point with Sean Payton there as the coach, but they're not going to be enough to dethrone the Chiefs. And I can't put the Chiefs not at number one. They've owned this division for near a decade at this point, and it's one of those things where until a team knocks them
Proves
from
otherwise.
that top, I will be picking the Chiefs to win this division.
Yeah, and I will say it was hard for me to not have the Chiefs up there because I always say if it's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you have to prove it to me that you can beat these guys. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
think I do have that hope in Jim Harbaugh. Moving to the NFC West side of things, again, both of us were relatively consistent with the exception of the bottom two. For myself, I have the Cardinals finishing fourth, while you have the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I've got the Seahawks at the bottom just because I don't think this team got that much better. They brought in a lot of outside talent, yes. They got a guy like Sam Darnold, but they traded away DK Metcalf. They let Tyler Lockett go. Kenneth Walker has been dealing with injuries the last couple of years. So is Zach Charbonnet. The defense, yes, it's improving a little bit, but not enough that I think it's going to make that much of a difference. And as we've talked about, it's a defensive head coach in Seattle right now, and we're seeing those coaches slip further and further down the standings. And I just think this is going to be a growing pains struggle year for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and for me, I have the Cardinals, like I said there, and the Seahawks last year with Mike McDonald, I think shocked a lot of people with how actually decent they were. I think the Cardinals will be worse than the Seahawks just because again, we're kind of at this point with Kyler Murray where it's we're not really looking at him going like, oh, like this is the year he proves it, where it's kind of like Kyler's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback. He's just in that good category, man, where if you get him some weapons, he can have himself a decent year. I don't believe in Jonathan Gannon. That's the simple truth of it. This is going to be the year where I look at Gannon and go, at the end of the year, I could see him being gone. He's one of those defensive-minded guys. I don't even think the Cardinals have that good of a defense, to be perfectly honest with you. And while he's not an idiot like Eberflus was to, get fired midway through the year, I just don't think the team's going to play that well. That's why I have the Cardinals there. But I have the Seahawks a little bit higher. I think their offense is going to be terrible, other than the running game. I think the running game is going to be fine with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. They're going to get a lot of splits between them, but ultimately, other than that, Sam Darnold is not playing in front of that same offensive line that he had in Minnesota. Nope. He is not throwing to the same caliber of wide receivers that he had in Minnesota. He goes from Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp. He doesn't have TJ Hawkinson at the tight end position. I don't even know who the starting tight end is for Seattle. I think it's Noah Fant, but even then, I can't be confirmed with that one.
Yeah, I think it's Noah Fant and AJ Barner are the tight ends there. So
yeah.
It's a definite drop-off. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why I had the Seahawks right at the bottom myself. The Cardinals, I have them at third, but honestly, this is a sneaky third. I kind of wanted to put them in second in this division just because the 49ers have been having some struggles. But I look at this Cardinals team, and like Kyler Murray, he's like a patient, collected version of Justin Fields. He will run around, but he will wait and go through his progressions before he runs like the scared hamster he is. And I think we're going to see a big step this year from Marvin Harrison Jr. because all the media is not on him like it was last year. Last year, he's coming in and everybody's like, he's the second coming of his father. He is going to be the best wide receiver we've seen in years. And he kind of didn't do much. They went out and they got some supporting cast for him. There's more wide receiver help on that team. I think we see him take a leap. We saw Trey McBride last year do much better. There are a lot more outlets for Kyler Murray now where I don't think he's going to have to scramble as much. He's going to be able to get it out, especially with running back room like James Conner and Trey Benson as well. I think we see this Cardinals offense finally start to rack up some wins and get some momentum going. And I would not be at all shocked to see them finish second in this division.
I very much would be, but I think coaching is going to be a big hindrance on them. But we do have the exact same for our second and third. 49ers at 2 and Rams at 1 for myself personally. I know you are a much more, I'm not going to say hater of the 49ers, but non-believer in what the 49ers are potentially doing. They still have a ton of talent on this team on both the defense and offense side of the ball. Kyle Shanahan, he has Brock Purdy in this offense that's not really changing other than some pieces. We talk about, we make a lot of jokes about Christian McCaffrey, but the thing is, while he might not be the Christian McCaffrey of even 2 years ago, if Christian McCaffrey is just 80% of what we've seen from Christian McCaffrey, that's still a very, very big problem to go up and deal with. George Kittle, same sort of thing right there. If Brandon Ayuk comes out and is healthy like what we've seen from 2 seasons ago, you just continue to see this offense go. Well, again, it's not going to be the best version of this 49ers offense we've ever seen. I still think it's going to be damn good. Robert Saleh returning as the DC is very big for that 49ers team. But when I talk about the Rams, this is a team that they're going to have one of the best defensive lines in football, with Jared Verse kind of leading that. Brandon Fisk out there as well. They have a young defense that's only going to be getting better. And Matthew Stafford he's healthy right now. And until Matthew Stafford isn't healthy, I'm going to sit back and say Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are going to have that offense going. I know there's people talking about Kyron Williams taking a dip this year, but they're still going to utilize him. And then you also have Blake Corum there, Puka Nacua. They brought in Devonte Adams, for fuck's sakes. Like, this is
Yeah.
going to be a really good team.
Yeah, and I mean the 49ers, it's not like Kyle Shanahan is going to have to will this team to the wins, I believe. Just because it's so banged up and it's too many ifs. Guys have to stay healthy. If Christian McCaffrey can get back, and I would say even to 20% of what he could do before, as long as he plays 17 games, then yes, this 49ers team will be much better. But that's where my concern comes in for them, and that's why I could see them slipping down to that third place position in the NFC West. I have them at second just because right now they are healthy. But the Rams they're the best constructed team in this division. On both sides of the ball, great coaching staffs, a lot of talent. Like you said, adding Devonte Adams, that they replaced a gadget receiver in Cooper Kupp who plays more of the slot for a guy like Devonte Adams who can stretch the field, and we've seen he can still do that. And that will open up so many more windows for a guy like Puka Nacua. It'll open up those windows for Kyron Williams and Tyler Higbee as well. This Rams team is honestly one of my favorites for the NFC to be able to knock off the Eagles.
Well, and you talk about the team that gave the Eagles the hardest chance or the hardest game in the playoffs. It was the Rams in that divisional round matchup, and you're like, wow, like the Rams almost did it. Moving to the NFC South, this was a division that you and I had the exact same. We had the Bucks at 1, the Falcons at 2, the Panthers at 3, and the Saints at 4. For myself, the Bucks are the best team in a garbage division. They have the most consistency. They have the best wide receivers. I think they have the best defense out of everyone in that team. Falcons, they have the benefit of being better than the two other teams that are ahead of them. Now, they essentially have a rookie quarterback in Michael Penix, who got a little bit of playing time last year, but not a ton. It's I still think their defense is really, really bad. That offensive line is good, and you have Bijan Robinson. Again, I'm not convinced their coaching staff is going to be able to take them to where they need to be. Again, that defensive-minded staff I don't have faith in, but they're better teams than what we see in both the Panthers and the Saints. Panthers, while they got better on this offense, their defense still isn't good. Like, they're still going to be one of the worst defenses in football this year, I think. I'm still not a big Bryce Young believer, and so even adding Tet McMillan still doesn't give me a ton of hope. And they're already talking about last year Xavier Legette, thank you. He's already being relegated to wide receiver 3 on that team. So yeah, it's gonna need to be a lot of convincing for me to see the Panthers move forward. And the only reason they're not bottom for me is because the New Orleans Saints exist. And that is the team I think is probably going to be the worst team in football this year.
Yeah, the Saints are just bad this year, and that's why they're at the bottom of this division. And honestly, that's the only reason that the Panthers aren't at the bottom of the division. Because yes, the Panthers got a little bit better, but they're still bottom quality. Like, it's not great. The Saints, if they could get a quarterback, they would leapfrog the Panthers pretty damn quick. But I don't have any faith in Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That's how that plays out. The Falcons are a bit of a wild card. They've got some talent there, but it's like you said, new coaching staff, a bit of a quarterback change, some controversy there with Kirk Cousins getting paid and then being benched. So I just don't think it's there. This is the Buccaneers division to lose.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield was on a tear last year where
last 2 years really.
A few more good games and we're talking about Baker Mayfield being a finalist for MVP. He's that good. And with Mike Evans back healthy, I know Chris Godwin's not back yet, but Emeka
Ibuka.
Yeah. We saw some great things out of him in preseason. I think that is going to be a great talent. Cade Otton came on strong last year near the end and was doing great things at the tight end position. And we've seen Bucky Irving both running the ball and out of the backfield catching it. has been lights out. And so this Bucks team, it's their division to lose. If they don't win this division, then that is on them 100%.
Yeah, and going to now the AFC South, we only have one difference, and that is who is ultimately going to be winning the division. For us, we both have the Colts at the bottom, and then the Titans at the second worst. Obviously, the Colts having a competition between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson to be your starting quarterback, and saying that that is a quarterback competition, and then the guy that you drafted fourth overall less than 3 years ago loses that competition. Anthony Richardson, and we've talked about this a little bit before, he, I think, deserves to be in that conversation for the biggest quarterback bust of all time. Because when we talk about quarterback busts of all time, we talk about Ryan Leaf, we talk about Jamarcus Russell, we talk about Johnny Manziel. People have even put Trubisky in that list. I don't think he's in that category. Like, he's vastly underwhelming, and he was a bust, but he's not on those guys' level. Anthony Richardson, like, he has worse stats than Jamarcus Russell did.
Yeah.
And I consider Jamarcus Russell the biggest bust of all time. And Anthony Richardson has worse stats than him. And he lost to Daniel Jones, who has been the worst quarterback in football the last, pretty much the entire time he's been playing quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why the Colts are just at the basement dweller in this division right now. It's going to be bad for that team. Yes, they were able to get some additional talent on defense, which will help them, but it can only take you so far. And the Titans, they're just kind of treading water right now, seeing what they've got with Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley, see if they can get any chemistry going, and if they have something to build on going into next year. But this is very much year one of a true rebuild for this Titans organization. And hey, to finish third in your division when you're in the midst of a rebuild, that's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, being the worst team last year in football, there's only one way to go. It's up.
Yeah.
And the Titans, if they win 5 games this year and they're ahead of the Colts, they're going to be sitting back going like, that was an improvement. This is what we needed to do. And then this is where we have ultimately the difference in our opinions, where I have the Texans winning the division while you have the Jags winning the division.
Yeah, and I have the Jags winning the division for one reason and one reason only, and that is the lack of offensive line in Houston. And that is what I think is going to hurt them. It's going to cost them 2 to 5 games at the very least. And that's going to be the reason that they cannot hold on to this division. The O-line just got too much worse. It was one of the worst in football last year. It is going to be the worst in football this year. I'm praying for CJ Stroud to survive the season at this point. And for that reason alone, that's why I think the Jags win this division, and not with a pretty record either. This is like a 9-8, 10-7 winning the division.
Yeah, well, I do share a lot of the same concerns with you on that offensive side of the ball. Even with how bad that offensive line was last season, it's not like CJ Stroud had a horrible year. Now, it did get worse this year, so like that is a massive concern. But they did get CJ Stroud more weapons this year to ultimately play with. And I think that Texans defense is probably going to be the best defense in football this year. Like, I do sit back and I say that Texans defense is for real, man. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing that keeps them in games. I mean, we've seen the Steelers win a division solely off of their defense. And their offense had worse pieces, worse play callers than what we've seen from the Texans right now. And that's why I think they're going to win this division. I think the Jags, they're at the point now with Trevor Lawrence where we're kind of talking about him in a similar breath and a similar vein to Kyler Murray, where it's just every single year it's been like, oh, this is the year that we're going to see him go off, and this is the year where we finally see him turn into that quarterback that we saw when he was that first overall pick, and this, that, and the other thing, and blah 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 blah. But who did they get for him to have that additional throwing the ball to? They have Travis Hunter. He wasn't the top receiver in last year's class. I didn't even have him as my number 2 or number 3 receiver in last year's class, in a class that I didn't view highly at the receiver position. Now, Brian Robinson Jr., or Brian
Thomas Jr.
Thomas Jr., thank you, was phenomenal, and he is a number 1 receiver. But that defense is still a work in progress. Other than Thomas Jr., who else is really in that offensive weaponry room? And so I think the Jags are going to be decent, but for me, this falls on Trevor Lawrence, man. Like, I just don't think he's going to be taking that to the next step.
No, that's fair. And like I said, I think this is going to be a tight division between these two. It would have been fun to see the two of them playing each other in Week 18 just to decide it. But they both get to play the basement dwellers. I believe the Jags play the Titans and the Texans play the Colts.
Yeah.
The final week of the season. So both of them have an easy win to close out the year. We'll see if maybe that's it. We'll see how it lands. But yeah, I don't have much faith in that Texans O-line. I think CJ Stroud's going to get a little beat up this year.
Now moving over to the AFC East, where yet again we have this division pretty much exactly the same, where we have the Jets at the bottom, the Dolphins at 3rd, the Patriots at 2, and the Bills at number 1. I think for myself personally, this is the Bills division until proven otherwise. Like this is one of those divisions where you look at it and go, you kind of very, very similar to what we could say with the AFC West, even though I did have the Chiefs not getting the benefit of the doubt. Until someone proves that they can take this division away from the Bills, it's their division. Every other team in this division has many question marks at the moment for one reason or another. When it comes to the Patriots, I think that defense is going to be a hell of a lot better than what we've seen. Mike Vrabel, defensive-minded coach, brought in a lot of pieces to get that defense going. But the flip side to that is they have fuck all on offense. Then you look at the Dolphins. This is a team that I think can win 8 games, but there's so many question marks of going, is Tua going to stay healthy? Their defense is terrible. Is Tyreek Hill going to get arrested before the Week 1 game again? And can their running backs all stay healthy at some point? Because none of them seemingly are. And then the Jets, well, they're the Jets. They have a defensive-minded head coach trying to steer this offense in a way to get them going with a quarterback that has been proven to not be able to get things done. And yeah, the Jets are the Jets, man.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's surprised by the top and the bottom of this division. You know, the Bills, it's not even the Bills division. It's Josh Allen's division to lose at this point.
Yes.
And he is dragging this team to the top every year and then trying to duke it out with the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Ravens, and he just can't quite get past some of those big squads. The Jets, it's, you know, they could teach a class on dysfunctional organizations. You know, it's not good. They have so much talent there. Their defense could be one of the better in the league, but they're not going to be able to put points up on the board. It's not going to be pretty. The surprising part, I think, for some people will be that 2 and 3. The fact that we've got the Patriots leaping all the way up to that number 2 spot. It's really because the Dolphins have so many question marks. It's, can Tua stay healthy? You know, can Tyreek get back to form? Can Devon Achane stay healthy? There's so many ifs. And like you said, the defense got a lot worse. They brought Minka Fitzpatrick back. Great. But you lost Jalen Ramsey, and then you had 2 significant injuries at cornerback. Your secondary is Swiss cheese right now. It's going to be rough for the Dolphins. And the Dolphins have a lot of away cold weather games this year in December. They travel to Pittsburgh. They travel to Baltimore. Buffalo. They, I think, travel to New England as well.
They have to travel to New England.
I just mean, I think it's late in the year, not early in the year when they go.
Yeah.
If it's in September or October, they might be able to pull something out sometimes. But Mike Vrabel has got this Patriots team back on track on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, yeah, there's question marks. I think Drake May, we're going to see him continue to grow and get better. Travion Henderson, is that the running back they took? That is the wild card for me.
Yes.
I'm not so much looking at Stephon Diggs and what he's going to be able to do, or any of the other receivers, which I cannot name, but Travion Henderson, if he can truly take that number one running back spot away, we might see a dark horse come into talks for the offensive rookie of the year by the end of the season with this guy, because he has some skills. And so that combined with the defense is why I have the Patriots at number 2 in this division.
Yeah, and again, we both had that being exactly the same way. Then moving over to the NFC East, surprise, surprise, we had this division pinned the exact same way, where it was Eagles at 1, Commanders at 2, Cowboys at 3, and Giants at 4. If we could put them at 5, we probably would, but it's the Eagles' division to lose. Like, this is their division. Now, I sat back and said last year, the Eagles probably had the best roster the NFL has ever seen last year, and that's the reason why they won the Super Bowl. They got worse last year. You can't have the best roster of all time back-to-back years. They're still a really, really good team, and they've kind of replaced some of the guys that they needed to replace. Now, again, Howie Roseman can only do so much, but that team's still going to be very good. Saquon Barkley is still healthy at the moment. That offensive line is still elite. They still have A.J. Brown, who's a top 5 receiver in the game. You still have a lot of great weapons and all this. The defense is only going to get better with some of their younger talent. Yeah. It's their division to lose. When it comes to the Commanders, this is a team I don't have a lot of faith in their defense here at the moment. I still think they're a little bit more Swiss cheese. That offense, however, they got significantly better on the offensive line, and they ended up signing Terry McLaurin. So that offense is still going to be quite scary, but I just don't think they're going to be enough to compete with the Eagles. And the Cowboys, well, they have Dak Prescott throwing the ball is pretty much all they're going to be able to do. And then their defense, well, they're definitely going to be playing defense.
Well, we talked at length with them losing Micah Parsons and how much that is going to affect them for sure.
Yeah. And then, well, the Giants, this is a team that is going to be competing for that number 1 pick, and it's not due to the fault of their rookie quarterback that they drafted because he's a bust. It's this Giants team just isn't that good. They have a good defensive line, but other than that, it's...
Yeah, and I mean that's just it. Like it is the Eagles' division to lose. I think the Commanders, with the improvements they made on offense, they're going to be able to push the Eagles a little bit this year. I think we might actually see them split their division series with each other. I think the Commanders are going to steal a game from the Eagles this year because that offense has gotten that much better. It's just not a well-rounded enough team to take the top spot.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, however, I think they can fall farther. If Dak Prescott or CeeDee Lamb suffers an injury within the first 5 weeks of this season, I think they finish in last place because I do think the Giants, as bad as they are, they're not going to be competing for that first pick. I see them winning probably 4 to 5 games this year, which will put them more in the range of the 5th to 8th pick, I think. And so
3 to 4.
Yeah, like I don't think they're going to quite be competing for that first one, but I mean, if the Cowboys suffer a significant injury, I see them finishing last in this division. It's going to be exciting to watch the Giants at least. Whether it's Russell Wilson throwing his moon balls or Jameis Winston closing his eyes and throwing up a prayer, we're going to get to see Malik Neighbors down there making some fantastic catches and maybe making a few guys miss. It's going to be fun to watch.
It really is. Moving over to the NFC North side, and again, we have this division pretty much the exact same, where we have the Lions, Packers, Bills, and then Vikings. Again, for us, this is kind of the benefit of the doubt for the Lions, where it's another team needs to come in and prove. Every single team in this division has a reason that they can ultimately go out there and win the division, but they also have negative downsides of how they could lose the division. The Lions, they lost both of their coordinators. That's huge. That's a big, big loss. The Packers, their defense still kind of sucks. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Packers defense, even with Micah Parsons still on there, kind of sucks still. And we talked about that. Bears, they have no pressure from the defensive line. And the I'm not gonna that's pretty much my biggest concern is, can their defensive line get pressure on any quarterbacks that they go up against? And the Vikings, it is basically, can JJ McCarthy, pretty much in his rookie season, take that step and keep this team competitive?
Yeah, and I mean that's you said it perfectly. Every team in this division has reasons why they could win the division and reasons why they could finish dead last in the division. That
Yeah.
it was wild setting this division for myself because yeah, the Vikings, that defense, I think is still very good. It is. It's JJ McCarthy is the wild card there. If
Mm-hmm.
he can get to a form where he is putting Justin Jefferson into talks as the number one wide receiver in the league still, then this Vikings team could elevate all the way to the top of this division. I've got them at 4th right now though because I don't know what we're going to get out of JJ McCarthy. The Bears at 3, it's really Ben Johnson. Can Ben Johnson get this offense firing on all cylinders like he did with the Lions, but on a much faster trajectory? That's the thing. Can he get it done immediately, or is it going to be a slow build like it was with the Lions? And I am erring on the side of the slow build. I think by the end of this season, we see this Bears team and we go, okay, this is a team next year to really watch out for. The top of this division was hard for me though, because as you said, losing both your coordinators is really hard to bounce back from. And I've got the Lions at number 1. I I'm not confident that they're going to finish at number 1 because of that though. I think it's going to come down to a foot race between the Packers and the Lions. You know, which quarterback is going to will their team to it? Will it be Jared Goff or will it be Jordan Love? Jared Goff has more better weapons because the Packers right now are dealing with injuries. It's Matthew Golden or bust for them right now.
Yeah.
And so that's why I still have the Lions at number 1, but I would not be shocked come the end of the season to see the Packers up there at that one spot. I would hate it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Now moving over to the AFC North. Actually, before we move, that last thing I will say about the NFC North is, this is probably the best division in the NFL this year. I
Yes.
just because, again, every single team can finish in every single position on this board
Yeah.
this year, and it's
100%
because,
agree with that.
and it's just solely because this division is so goddamn close. Now moving over to the AFC North, we do have a little bit of difference here. Starting
Probably
with,
the biggest difference we had of any of the divisions, really.
yeah, and honestly, we should start with the only pick that we have agreements on, and that's who's winning the division. That's the Baltimore Ravens, and this is kind of on those similar lines to some of the other divisions where it's kind of, you're looking at this Ravens team going, it's maybe not necessarily of they're given the benefit of the doubt, but they have the least amount of question marks out of the rest of the teams in this division. Because when
Yeah.
you look at it, it's what's wrong with their offense? And you go, well, their offensive line's still good. You can maybe say that they don't have an elite wide receiver room, but that hasn't seemed to affected them the last few years. And then you look at their defense and go, last year was their secondary. They got better in the secondary. So it's the Ravens' division to lose.
Yeah, and that's just it. The Ravens are just, they stayed more consistent with what they were last year. They lost some pieces, they added some pieces, but they stayed pretty much the same as they were. Derrick Henry is going to carry this team to the division. I really believe his second year with the Ravens, he's either, you know, and I want him to stay healthy. He's either going to get hurt or he's going to carry this team to the division. And I think it's going to be the latter. I want it to be the latter. As much as I hate the Ravens, I just think he's primed for a special year at running back this year.
Yeah, our next spot at number 2 is where we have some difference. For me, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. I as much as we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals defense being worse or one of the worst defenses, they did get better defensively this year. They have Trey Hendrickson on a new contract. Now he's a free agent at the end of next year. So it's not like he's not going to be motivated to still be great, because Trey Hendrickson at the end of the year, he's going to be a free agent. And if he wants that big time contract, he's still going to have to prove. And so that's going to be a reason Shamar Turner is he's there. So it's not like they're going to have to worry about that. And their defense did get better. How much better is going to be the question. The one thing that we do know is that this offense has the capability of putting up 40 points per game. And when you have that, as long as your defense only gives up 39 points, you're going to win a lot of games. And this Bengals team, going into the last couple weeks of the season, was genuinely one of the scariest teams to go up against in football. Nobody wanted to play the Bengals in the last 4 to 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was on a mission to will his team to the playoffs and himself to the MVP. So I'll agree there. For myself, surprise, surprise, I've got my Pittsburgh Steelers at the number 2 spot. And honestly, I've got them fighting for that division. I didn't put them into that division spot because the Ravens are just a little bit more known what we're going to get out of them, whereas there's more of the wild card feeling out of the Steelers. It's what Aaron Rodgers do we get? Do we get Aaron Rodgers of 10 years ago, or do we get Aaron Rodgers of 2 years ago? That's what it'll ultimately come down to. We know this defense is going to be one of the best. It's going to be top 5 for sure, if not top 3. I've stated multiple times over the last several weeks, I think this defense has the capabilities to be historic this year. I think it's going to be good. They could will this team to the division title. I have them finishing in second, somewhere in that 10 to 12 win range.
Yeah, as we all know, I have zero faith in the Steelers offense. When you have Arthur Smith calling you plays, you essentially have a rookie running back at the moment. I don't think DK Metcalf is that much more of an upgrade over George Pickens was. Like, I think he is an upgrade over George Pickens, but I don't think he's going to be a demonstrably larger upgrade. I don't think the wide receivers that the Steelers have at the second and third spot, they're not proven enough for me. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is theoretically an upgrade over what you've had these last couple years, but he's 42, and the defense is going to be elite. But like I've said time and time again, it's just going to be same old for me.
Yeah, the reason the offense doesn't worry me quite as much, Arthur Smith, is because Aaron Rodgers has the ability and the knowledge to change the plays.
We said that with Russell Wilson last year. And the
arrogance to do so as well.
We said that with Russell Wilson last year.
Yeah, but Russell Wilson didn't have the arrogance to do it.
He doesn't have the arrogance, but he just kind of did it anyways.
Well, no, he just didn't do it because, I don't know. The offense this year, I feel like the football IQ has grown. You've added a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who is more intelligent when it comes to football than Russell Wilson, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. You added a
guy like DK
100%.
Metcalf, same thing. More intelligent when it comes to football than George Pickens. So those were the upgrades. I mean, I don't really consider Jalen Warren a rookie running back either. I'm
saying Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to be the number one. It's Jalen Warren at the outset. Caleb Johnson could take it, but he's not well-rounded enough. We're going to see sprinkles of Caleb Johnson this year. It's Jalen Warren's chance at running back, though, at this point.
Yeah.
And so that's where I have more faith, because he is that north-south runner who is just going to make things happen. So
yeah.
But I know last thing no faith in the offense. Yeah,
like for me, I know, and like that's kind of been like what we've been talking about throughout this year, is you have a little bit more faith in this Steelers offense than I do. Obviously, because you are the fan of the Steelers, you should have more faith in that offense than me. But it's just one of those things from the outside observer. It's going, man, it's pretty much just the exact same pieces that we saw from last year, maybe with a slight upgrade with Rodgers over Wilson. But yeah.
And that's why you have the Steelers sitting at third in the
Yes.
division. Yeah.
Yes. And we both have the Browns sitting at the bottom because no,
I,
we don't
I do
because
not
I
actually.
I have the Browns finishing at the bottom while you have the Bengals finishing at the bottom.
I do, which I know surprises a lot of people. I've got the Browns at that third spot. Honestly, the Browns are bad, but with Joe Flacco there, they could get some stuff done. And that D line, you said that the D line in LA is one of the best in the league. I think that D line in Cleveland is going to be very scary. You've got Miles Garrett on one side, and you've got who
Mason
was it?
Graham up the middle.
Mason Graham on the other. Like that is just going to be a terrifying 1-2 punch. I think that defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. And the thing with Joe Flacco is he's one of these quarterbacks that has always had a very strong relationship with his tight ends. And him and David Njoku have formed a bond in Cleveland. And I've seen a lot of stuff with them. And I worry if they both stay healthy and are starting, we could see a very unique season from these two guys where, we see him elevate David Njoku into talks of, oh my God, could he be a fringe top 5 tight end? Because we've seen him do things with Todd Heap and Mark Andrews in the past where he just elevates some of these tight ends and makes them superstars. And Njoku kind of already was that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think the Browns are going to surprise some teams. My reasoning for having the Bengals at the bottom is that defense got a little bit better, but not a lot better. And I think they're still going to be giving up 30, 35 points a game. My concern comes the offensive line got a little bit worse for the Bengals this year. And so Joe Burrow is going to be scrambling a little bit more for his life. And we've seen him healthy for a couple years. Joe Burrow, you know, it's kind of made of glass. He tends to get injured. And so my concern is with the less protection, can he stay healthy? Can he still get the ball downfield to Jamar Chase? Or is he going to have to be getting it out in 1.7, 1.9 seconds just to survive? And so that is where my concerns come with the Bengals. You know me. I don't have a lot of faith in this Bengals organization. And that is why I think they're going to be exciting to watch. They're going to be the Giants of the AFC, where it's going to be so much fun watching them, but they're not going to be able to get the wins because Joe Burrow is going to have to put up 50 points a game, and I don't think behind this offensive line he's going to be able to.
I think you're insane. This is a team that won 8 games last year and had a worse defense. So, and I've been saying this with the Bengals. If they have a top 20 defense in the NFL, they're competing for the Super Bowl. Like just point blank. And sure, they were in that 30 range last year. If they can somehow jump up 10 spots, which going from 30 to 20 shouldn't be that difficult of a challenge, and they got better on the D line. But yeah, for me, when it comes to the Browns at that 4th spot, while I do think Joe Flacco is going to be just a consistent guy, the problem is with Joe Flacco, we saw it last year in Indianapolis, where he can very easily win you a game, but he just has the exact same ability to lose you a game. Sure, he's in a more consistent offense that he knows a lot better than Shane Steichen with Kevin Stefanski, but we just go back to when the Colts faced the Texans 2 years ago in the playoffs with Joe Flacco. He looked horrible. While the Browns are going to have some closer games this year due to Joe Flacco, this is just not a team that is built for competing.
Oh, I agree. Like I was surprised myself when I put the Browns up to 3 and the Bengals down to 4. It's just honestly, I don't have faith in that Bengals O line to keep Joe Burrow safe enough to finish the season.
Yeah, it's
That
without a doubt, it's going to be really, really interesting to see. But now moving on to this or that for this particular week, and surprise, surprise, couple of questions regarding Micah Parsons. And my first question goes to you in regardings of the two teams that ultimately made this trade. Are the Cowboys defense going to be considered one of the worst defenses in the league this year, or is it more likely that the Packers defense is now going to be in that same breath as being one of the best in the NFL this year, with the
Yeah, and
addition and the subtraction of Micah Parsons?
exactly. And we've talked about this a little bit already throughout the pod here, and I think the odds are the Cowboys defense slips much farther down to looking like the worst defense than the Packers moving up. Like, yes, Micah Parsons is going to make a difference for that Packers defense, but not to the point where they're going to be a top 5 defense. The Cowboys very easily could be a bottom 5 defense, though.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I look at this Cowboys defense and go, like, who's the difference maker? Like, who is a player that you can look at on that Cowboys defense and go, man, like this is something that can get them going. And
It's their
I
cornerbacks.
but
That's it.
even then their corners have been considered Swiss cheese of whether they'll either get 9 interceptions in a year but also allow 1,000 yards against them over that season, or they're just mid. Like, there's no in between for Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs. Like, that is exactly what those two corners are. It's either you're allowing 1,000 yards and getting a bunch of turnovers, or you are just middle of the pack for a corner.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like that's their only star power they got left, and that's what it's going to be. Is sure they're going to get picks, they're going to get pick sixes, but they're also going to give up big 70-yard gains and big plays that cost them games.
Yep.
And that's why I think they end up falling. For myself, this is an easy one because we've really covered it. But who got the better end of the trade for
Packers.
Micah Parsons? The Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers?
Like I already said it, Packers. Like,
Packers.
Yeah, there's the Green Bay Packers. There's nothing you can fault them on this trade. Everything you can fault on the Dallas Cowboys side of things. You didn't get the proper value that you could have gotten out of Micah Parsons. Mind you, Khalil Mack got traded for more when he was with the Raiders to the Bears than Micah Parsons did in this deal.
Yep.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Jerry Jones. You dumb, senile old bitch.
Yeah, I can agree more. I mean, the Packers won this trade. Like, we might revisit this in like 3 years after those draft picks have been made, and we might go, okay, this was a balanced trade. I don't see any way that we end up talking about this in 5 years, 10 years, going, wow, the Cowboys really won that trade.
Like, they're going to need, they're like, the only way the Cowboys walk away with this and be the favored party in this trade scenario is if they somehow manage to win 2 or 3 Super Bowls from the picks that they got from the Packers.
Yeah, or if Micah Parsons suffers some Aiden Hutchinson-esque injury and never plays again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next question to you is, who is going to be the worst team in the NFL? And I actually have 4 teams included in this list. Is it going to be the Indianapolis Colts, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Giants, or is it going to be the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, and I only have one team in this list, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts are going to be the worst team. The Giants and the Browns, I've already talked about how I think both of them are probably 4 to 5 win teams. I think they're going to be able to squeak some wins out here and there. The Saints, I think Alvin Kamara will probably find a way to win them 2 to 3 games. The Colts, I'll be surprised if they win more than 1.
Yeah, see, this is where you and I are a little bit more opposite on. I think the Colts have a much better, well-rounded team. It's their quarterbacks that are just going to absolutely kill them this year. While the Saints, I don't think there's a bright spot on this team at all. Whether it's your quarterback, whether it's your offensive line, whether it's your running back. Again, Alvin Kamara is not a young player anymore. He's still good, don't get me wrong, but he's not a guy that I sit back and go like, man, like this is a guy you have to game plan so aggressively for in this Kellen Moore offense. And then is Chris Olave going to stay healthy? And then you go to the defense and you just go, defense what in New Orleans? And so I genuinely sit back and think that unless the Browns somehow find a way to go 17 or 0-17, which I know people have talked about, it's going to be the Saints, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah,
there's nothing with this organization. They have Spencer Rattler as their starting quarterback.
yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I just, the Colts,
There's something in your gut that's telling you.
that's what it comes down to. Yeah, because Alvin Kamara, we've seen he has that ability to take over and win games for his team. And even with Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, like, can you chuck it 3 yards on a screen pass to Alvin Kamara and let him make six guys miss? If you can do that, you win a couple of games. Because Alvin Kamara, if he stays healthy, I said this last year, and if he had stayed healthy last year, I think he would have been up there in talks at the end of the year with Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, because he just had such a phenomenal start to the year, and that broken hand really hurt him. He did everything the rest of the year with a broken hand, and he was still doing so well. Like it, Alvin Kamara is one of the most underrated running backs in the league, I think.
Oh, like, I love Alvin Kamara, and there was talks that the Bears should go out and trade for him. There was a day where he threw out the first pitch at Wrigley Field for a Cubs game, and I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
back going like, why is he in Chicago just randomly? Because he's not from Chicago, didn't play in Chicago. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, maybe he's just like scoping out the team and going to say to his agent, bring me here for Ben Johnson. But obviously that hasn't happened yet.
yeah.
But yeah, just with the Saints, I don't know.
No, I feel that both. I wouldn't be shocked to see the first season of two teams going 0-17, really, because both these teams are hot garbage.
Yes.
Uh, my next one for you is, which first year coach is more likely to take their struggling team that they've gone to the playoffs? Is it going to be Pete Carroll with the Raiders, Ben Johnson with the Bears, or Mike Vrabel with the Patriots?
I I hate this saying because it's going to make me sound like such a homer, and I've always been such the skeptic of with what my team does, but I do think it's going to be the Bears because ultimately speaking, the Bears have the most well-rounded team out of these three. And if it wasn't for a handful of ridiculously bad coaching from the Bears last year. Like, Matt Eberflus and that Bears coaching staff lost them 4 games.
Hmm.
They lost that team 4 games due to coaching. You take the Bears win total from last year, which was 5 wins, and you add those 4 games that the Bears lost due to coaching, all of a sudden the Bears are a playoff team.
Yep.
And you get upgraded coaching. You have an upgraded O line for the Bears. It's hard for me not to sit back and say the Bears because the coaching got so much better and the team got better. Vrabel, I think, probably has the second best opportunity because that defense is going to be really good. I still struggle a ton with what that offense is going to do. I have Travion Henderson as one of my fantasy running backs, so I hope he does a lot of really good work. But
Yeah.
I don't think just a running back is going to be enough to take that team to the playoffs. And then with Pete Carroll and the Raiders, I think Brock Bowers is going to be great. I think Ashton Genty is going to be great. I think that offense is going to be improved. I think that defense is going to be improved. But the biggest problem there, and one thing that I keep arguing with my old man about, is you have Max Crosby, and then the rest of the defensive line. Now he will argue and sit back and be, well, they're all really good. It's like, okay, Adam Butler, how many Pro Bowls has he made? Hasn't made
Mhm.
any. Okay, how many Pro Bowls has Tyree Wilson made or Malcolm Kuntz made? Well, none. Okay, well, talk to me about your linebacking core. Well, it's a bunch of old guys who are kind of outcasts.
Yeah.
That's me more saying that. And then you look at the secondary and you go, can you name me one player in that secondary, Sterling?
Nope. Not a
And what?
clue.
And for me, I think their best player in their secondary is either Jeremy Chin, who was a safety for the Panthers last year, that horrible, horrible Panthers defense.
I thought he was in Washington last year.
Jeremy Chin, he might have been in Washington. I think he was with
Yeah.
the Panthers though. We'll have to double check
Either
that.
way.
But regardless, the fact that we can't even remember which team this guy played for is telling. Or it's going to be your rookie third-round pick corner in Darian Porter, which I'm a big fan of Darian Porter. I think he's going to be good, and he's a perfect scheme guy for what Pete Carroll looks for in corners.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the Raiders are going to be an improved team. I think all three teams are going to be vastly improved, but I just think if we're talking about which team has the most likelihood of making the playoffs, I think it's the Bears, which almost makes me kind of feel sick saying, because I am such a skeptic of this team, and they find ways to just continue to butt fuck me.
Oh yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I agree. I think Pete Carroll is the third on this list for sure. The offense for Vegas got better. I don't think the defense got better though. I think the defense got worse, and that's what's going to hurt them. They're not going to be able to hang and stay in games right now. 2-3 years from now, maybe. Between Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel though, like Ben Johnson, I think we're going to see a little bit of the growing pains and the getting used to being a head coach and not just solely calling the plays. And I think that's what's going to slow down the climb for this team. Whereas Mike Vrabel, he knows how to be a head coach. He knows what he's got to do. And he's already at this point a little bit pissed off, as we've seen, with some of the leaks that have happened around injuries, season-ending injuries. And so I think he's going to get this team whipped into shape quickly. And I said it earlier, I think Travion Henderson has the potential to be a sneaky dark horse for the offensive rookie of the year this year. And I think the Patriots, not only are they the more likely, I think the Patriots are going to get a wild card spot this year.
Yeah, no, I struggle more with that offense still at this point, but I know what you're saying. I really, really do. But that's it for this or that this particular week. But that is also it for this podcast. I know you want to talk about something. I'm not allowing it. I'm not allowing it. And if you're an NFL fan, obviously you've heard of it. But I'm not allowing that stupid talk to be on this podcast, because it is nothing but that. It's just stupid. But that is it for this week. For Sterling, I'm Brendan saying thank you all very much for watching. Peace.